Welcome to our Introduction to the Trinity series. My name is Sister Mary Magdalene. This is the sixth of a 12-part series dedicated to the teaching of St. Thomas Aquinas on the Trinity. Today we will be speaking about the person of God the Holy Spirit. Now last time we talked about the personal names of the Father and the Son, and the fact that the Son is also called Word, Image, Splendor, and Begotten Wisdom. So now I will talk about the personal names of the Holy Spirit and a little bit about what is known as the Filioque. If you recall, Aquinas explains that there are two processions in God. The procession by way of intellect has as its term the word spoken by the Father, who is God the Son. And the procession by way of love of the Father and the Son has as its term or endpoint the love proceeding, who is the Holy Spirit. Aquinas mentions that it is a property of love to move and impel the will of the lover towards the object loved. We feel moved in our spirit towards the one we love or towards something we desire. Further, he adds, holiness is attributed to whatever is ordered to God. Therefore, because the divine person proceeds by way of the love whereby God is loved, that person is most properly named the Holy Spirit. Aquinas is thinking of spirit as in spiratio in Latin, a breathing forth. Now let me pause for a moment to explain what is known as the Filioque clause. You have probably heard that Orthodox Christians do not generally accept what is called the Filioque clause in the Creed. That is where it says, I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord and giver of life, who proceeds from the Father and the Son. And the Son is Filioque in Latin. Although the formulas and the Son and through the Son can be interpreted to mean the same thing, the Catechism of the Catholic Church states that this legitimate complementarity of expressions, provided it does not become rigid, does not affect the identity of the faith in the reality of the same mystery confessed. And a number of early church fathers, such as St. Ambrose, St. Augustine, and Pope St. Leo the Great, speak of the Holy Spirit as coming from both the Father and the Son, as does a document of the 5th or 6th century known as the Athanasian Creed, the Quicumque, which speaks of the Holy Spirit as a Patre et Filio, from the Father and the Son. Aquinas argues that it must be said that the Holy Spirit is from the Son, as well as from the Father, because if the Holy Spirit were not from the Son, there would not be any way of distinguishing the Holy Spirit from the Son, since the only real distinction among the divine persons is due to their relations of origin, which are to be understood as being from a principle. But if both the Son and the Holy Spirit come forth only from the Father as their principle or origin, there would be nothing to distinguish one from the other, and they would both be only one divine person, which Aquinas notes would be heretical, because the Christian faith teaches that there are three divine persons. So Aquinas explains that the Holy Spirit is distinguished personally from the Son, inasmuch as the origin of the one is distinguished from the origin of the other. But the difference itself of origin comes from the fact that the Son is only from the Father, whereas the Holy Spirit is from the Father and the Son. In this way, a certain order of the processions is maintained, although they are eternal and do not take place in time. For this reason, Jesus says in the Gospel of John, speaking of the Holy Spirit, He will glorify me, for He will take what is mine and declare it to you. All that the Father has is mine. Therefore I said that He, the Holy Spirit, will take what is mine and declare it to you. That's from John 16:14-15. So we see that the Holy Spirit receives from the Son, who has himself received from the Father. Nevertheless, this does not mean that the Holy Spirit does not proceed from the Father. Aquinas explains that the same power to spirate the Holy Spirit belongs to the Father and to the Son, and therefore the Holy Spirit proceeds equally from both. Although sometimes he is said to proceed principally or properly from the Father, because the Son has this power, the power to spirate, the Holy Spirit, from the Father. Once again, however, we must try not to think of this as occurring in terms of time. Aquinas explains that as the begetting of the Son is co-eternal with the begetter, and hence the Father does not exist before begetting the Son, so the procession of the Holy Spirit is co-eternal with his principle. Consequently, the Son was not begotten before the Holy Spirit proceeded. They are eternal, the eternal begetting of the Son and the eternal spirating of the Holy Spirit. The spirating of the Holy Spirit by the Father and the Son is not something then that takes place in time, but again, it is an eternal act. And we can say that the Father spirates through the Son, since although there is no order of power between them, they are the one divine power, the one divine essence, there is still the order of origin. So Aquinas states that because the Son receives from the Father, that the Holy Spirit proceeds from him, the Son, it can be said that the Father spirates the Holy Spirit through the Son, or that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father through the Son, which has the same meaning. This eternal act, again, is known as common spiration. Both the Father and the Son eternally spirate, breathe forth in love, the Holy Spirit in common as one principle. Common spiration. Now, according to Aquinas, there are also two other personal names which belong to the Holy Spirit. And these other two names that can be said of him personally are the love and the gift of God. Let us speak first of the name love as used personally for the Holy Spirit. Again, it is important to distinguish what is said essentially, or by essence, which can be said of the whole Trinity, from what is said notionally or personally of one divine person. Aquinas explains in his commentary on John, in divine realities, love is taken in two ways. Essentially, so far as the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit love, and this refers to the one divine essence, and notionally or personally, so far as the Holy Spirit proceeds as love. And this refers to the personal property specific to the Holy Spirit, who is love proceeding. According to Aquinas, then, the Holy Spirit is said to be the bond of the Father and the Son, inasmuch as he is love, because since the Father loves himself and the Son with one love, and conversely, the Son loves himself and the Father with one love, there is expressed in the Holy Spirit as love the relation of the Father to the Son, and vice versa, as that of the lover to the beloved. And from the fact that the Father and the Son mutually love one another, it necessarily follows that this mutual love, the Holy Spirit, proceeds from both. Aquinas cites Augustine, who puts this so well in his De Trinitate, his work on the Trinity. The Holy Spirit is he by which the begotten, that is the Son, is loved by the one begetting, that is, he is loved by the Father, and, in turn, loves his begetter, that is, the Son loves the Father. I should note, however, that as the source and origin of the Trinity, the love of the Father also extends to creatures. Aquinas explains that the Father loves not only the Son, but also himself and us by the Holy Spirit. As the Father speaks himself and every creature by his begotten Word, that is the Son, inasmuch as the Word begotten adequately represents the Father and every creature, so he loves himself and every creature by the Holy Spirit, inasmuch as the Holy Spirit proceeds as the love of the primal goodness, by which the Father loves himself and every creature. Thus it is evident that relation to the creature is implied both in the word and in the preceding love, as it were in a secondary way, inasmuch as the divine truth and goodness are a principle of understanding and loving all creatures. So the Father and Son love each other and us by the Holy Spirit, who is love proceeding. Besides the names Holy Spirit and love, a third personal name for the Holy Spirit is that of gift. In the Gospel of John, chapter 4, verse 10, Jesus says to the Samaritan woman at the well, "If you knew the gift of God, and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." St. Thomas explains in his commentary that this living water refers to the Holy Spirit. But living water is connected with its source and flows from it, he says. So the grace of the Holy Spirit is given to man in such a way that the source itself of the grace is also given. That is the Holy Spirit. In this way, the Holy Spirit is himself the gift of God, who is given to us by Christ, as he says in John 15:26, "When the Counselor comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth who proceeds from the Father, he will bear witness to me." So Aquinas calls the Holy Spirit the gift of sanctification, the gift of God who sanctifies us. Whereas the Son, since he sends the Spirit together with the Father, is called the author of this sanctification. Aquinas also notes that the Holy Spirit is called gift from eternity, from his aptitude to be given, although he is actually given in time. In this way, a divine person is really given to us to be in some way possessed and enjoyed, not by our own power, but because we are made partakers or participants of the divine word and of the love proceeding, that is, of the Son and the Holy Spirit, so as freely to know God truly and to love God rightly. Aquinas notes that a gift is properly an unreturnable giving. It thus contains the idea of a gratuitous donation, freely given. And the reason for a donation being gratuitous is love. Hence it is manifest that love has the nature of the first gift, through which all free gifts are given. So since the Holy Spirit proceeds as love, he proceeds also as the first gift. Hence Augustine says in his work on the Trinity, "By the gift, which is the Holy Spirit, many particular gifts are portioned out to the members of Christ." Now there are three ways in which the divine persons give themselves to creatures in the temporal sphere. The first way is that each divine person gives himself, and this is the only way that God the Father is given, simply by giving himself, since he is not sent. Rather, he is the one who sends the Son and the Holy Spirit. This is called giving in the essential sense, since it is common to all three persons that each one gives himself to us. The Dominican Father John Emery notes that for Aquinas, the second way a divine person is given is that in which the person's act of giving himself to the spiritual creature can also include his being given by another divine person, by an author or principle which is distinct from himself. This occurs in the case of the proceeding person with respect to that person or persons from whom he proceeds. This mode refers to the Son and to the Holy Spirit. And this is a notional sense or personal sense of giving, common both to the Son and Holy Spirit, since they are given by another. Emery explains that this mode of giving involves the conferment of the person's likeness to the creature, which is a dispositive gift. It is a gift that disposes us for the reception of the divine person as a gift. In other words, the gift of created grace makes the soul similar to the wisdom of the Son by enlightening the mind, and similar to the love of the Holy Spirit by moving the affections, thus preparing or disposing the soul to receive each divine person, respectively. Thirdly, says Emery, self-giving may be included in the proper definition of the divine person's eternal procession, in which case the name gift is used personally, and this is unique to the Holy Spirit. Because he proceeds as love, the Holy Spirit proceeds as the first gift, and consequently as the exemplar or pattern for every other gift. I will speak next time of the Trinitarian inhabitation, the indwelling of the Trinity in our soul in grace.